time of year, yeah, this time of year is like really difficult for me typically, and it's difficult for most people.
Hmm.
And you know, my family is extremely religious. I love them,
Hmm.
but that comes when a lot of my trauma is related to the religion I was raised in, and they're all still like neck deep in it. It
Yep.
and then you have we had family Christmas on the weekend,
Yep.
and yeah, so I mean, it was good to see everybody. I really wish I could participate more financially.
Hmm.
I'd love to be
Hmm.
able to get
Hmm.
gifts for everybody. Um,
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
I was like, I wish I could participate financially. Fuck this shit, I'm out. I figured you just quit on me. Like, bye.
No, no. I think I've got some stuff set up here on my desk, and I think I just my something hit my mouse button, which just happened to be over the X on the screen. So
It's all good. It's all
such is
good.
life.
Um, yeah, I mean the only words of I don't even want to say advice. I mean, I
Hmm.
didn't hear you actually say, ask for help and you're just ranting. The only words of wisdom that I might be able to partake is, Christmas unfortunately has become very materialistic.
Hmm.
Um, Try to appreciate what's around the tree opposed to what's under it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's and 100%. All that, but it's difficult to escape the idea that everything in our society has become incredibly material,
It
and
is.
arguably it always has been.
Yep.
It's just everything is a lot more commodified these days,
Yes.
and which again brings me back to the whole reason why we're here today, which is
Exactly.
mama.
Right? I think that's an amazing segue.
Yeah, because like really that's it, right? Like even though I am struggling with like feeling motivation
Sure.
and like feeling like putting one foot in front of the other right at the
Yep.
moment, uh at the end of the day, when I'm left thinking about what do I do with my life,
Hmm.
I only have a short amount of time here on the earth. I'd
Hmm.
like to do something productive. I'd like to contribute something to society, if nothing
Yeah.
else. um and to that end, I just continually come back to like, well, if I'm going to be a productive member of society, I'd like to be a productive member of society in a way where I'm not a wage slave. You because I think that wasn't the biggest reason, or sorry, I won't say it's not the biggest reason. It was one of the uh, larger parts of the recipe that was the soup that was my nervous breakdown.
Sure.
Was the relationship of that I had between my employers and myself.
Hmm.
Yeah. So part of that solution, of course, is to create a work environment that works for us, the workers. So
If I
yeah,
may be so bold, may I ask a follow-up question to that?
by all means.
If I was to ask you to define a contributing member of society, what does that mean?
Yeah, like basically not somebody. I'm gonna just start by defining it by what it's not, because that's kind
Sure.
of where
Yeah.
um, I guess I'm kind of starting from. I
Yeah, I
guess.
mean, this is an IMHO a question. Like, there's no wrong answer to this question. So don't feel like, I'm giving you a pop quiz or anything. This is literally just a follow-up to your model of the world and an IMHO. What is the definition of a contributing member of society?
I mean, and even as we kind of begin to explore it, like I'm already going like, yeah, part of this is just a byproduct of growing up in a capitalist society with
Sure.
a Calvinistic sort of understanding of like the Puritan work ethic. Work is good, and everybody should want to work or feel compelled to work. And I think for my money as well, like I think people like to do things. People don't like to just sit around and stare at the wall. Even if we're just being entertained, we like to be engaged in activity. And I think as well, I've heard it said, and I think it's true for me, that people like to feel like they're producing something, like they're being productive with their life.
Yep.
Like their life is like meeting some sort of purpose or something.
Right.
And to that end, I also crave that, So when I'm talking about being a productive member of a contributing member of society, it's somebody who's, paying more in taxes than what he's taking out in the system, I guess, is one of my life goals.
Okay.
And so that's one part. And at the same time, like wrapped up in that is the whole philosophical quandary of, what if I'm not able to work full-time hours again at a job somewhere? What if my brain just won't allow me to do that, or my body just won't keep up, or stuff like that? And again, to that end, just because I can't work 40 hours a week doing what I used to do, burning myself out for somebody's business, doesn't mean that I can't work like 20 or 30 hours a week, working for a business that I get to share in the results. So if I work extra harder, I get more, and I like that.
Cool.
But I think bound up in that idea is a lot of that Protestant work. Work is good. People should be doing something, and even from the aspect of, or the idea of, wanting to leave the planet in a better place than the way I found it.
Yes.
I think is kind of contributes to that as well.
Cool.
It's the idea that I'm either taking out of the system or I'm contributing to the system. And in this case, the system being the planetary ecosystem, of which humans are a part of, but non-humans are a part of. Yeah, lots to think about, I guess.
The only reason why I asked that question is because I watched. Unfortunately I watched the news the other day, and they were going through the whole like retailers are finding it hard to staff their businesses, and I 100% agree. People do want to work. People do want to find their place and find fulfillment and find their spot, their seat on the bus. I hate that saying, and yet at the same time, it is 100% true. The problem that I personally am seeing is that businesses are asking for too much, and people are starting to put their own values and their own self-worth ahead of what the businesses are.
Yeah.
People want to work. They just don't want to work for you. Not you specifically, you as the general.
Yeah. As the man, as it were.
Yeah, 100%. If you are sitting there saying, we are desperate for workers and we need to hire workers. Okay. I applied for 3 different retail jobs. Not that I was going to accept them anyway, but I applied for 3 different retail jobs in the last 3 weeks. I'm still waiting to hear back from 2 of them. The other one took me on 7 different interview steps.
Interview what?
Interview steps. So there was the online application. There was an online questionnaire. Then there was a representative from said retailer that called me to talk to me about my application. They then sent me the exact same email link for the first questionnaire. And then a second representative called me with no information that the first one had gathered, looking for my resume that was attached to the first application. So, pro tip. That was a rhetorical pro tip.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is that people want to work. I 100% understand where you're coming from. People want to work. But unfortunately, depending on which side of the unfortunately you're looking at, either the interview process is looking for a master's degree with 15 years experience and you're only 25, or it's a 3-act play with a journey of emotions that lasts over the course of 5 weeks and you still have no resolution.
And at the end of it, what are you getting paid?
Exactly. Minimum wage? And at the end of it, people don't want to be abused.
Yeah.
So, again, this brings us back to VAWMA. But yeah, so, right, exactly. That being said, it's one of those people want 100%. People want to be a productive role in society. I think it also kind of, I don't want to say it stems back to, but I think the definition of what a productive role of society might have changed, you know? Mm-hmm. What brings you fulfillment? What do you like doing? To your point, you found fulfillment in DMing, and your dream is starting Flagons and Dragons, so you can have somewhere for people to hang out, to play D&D, to eat good food, drink good beer, and have a good time.
Absolutely.
That is what brings you fulfillment, and that is what your life purpose is.
Well, and it's interesting too, because it's like it's morphed, right? As I've tried to build towards what would be that Flagons and Dragons ideal. You know, I've stumbled upon cooperatives and cooperative ways of doing businesses, and that is like almost become like my new like passion in life. You know, just in an effort to get to that point where I could do my previous passion in life. And as a side note, this whole open D&D thing is giving me a real bum, or a real bummer.
I haven't actually had a chance to read what is changing from the open gaming license.
The
open source gaming license.
Yeah, they're getting rid of it as much as they can in an effort to make things more in-house so that they control more of the money. Because even though they made $1 billion last year, the 10 million that independent creators generated through Kickstarter and other little projects that they were doing that are based off of the open SRD model, they want it all. So it sounds like they're laying down the foundation for removing the possibility of playing D&D using third-party virtual tabletops. If you want to play D&D using a virtual tabletop, you will end up having to use the official D&D tabletop, which will be integrated into D&D Beyond for all that fun stuff. But it just seems like they're laying down the foundation for going the way of microtransactions and nickel and diming the hell out of everything and limiting the power of third-party creators to create content for the game. So does not bode well for the future of the game, in my humble.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, as long as you're not making a profit off it.
Sorry?
As long as you're not making a profit. Wait.
Well, I mean, their argument, I'm sure, would be that if I'm doing Flagons and Dragons,
right,
and I'm doing professional like DM type stuff where I'm using their game for customers to DM customers for a couple of hours as a form of entertainment, they might send me a cease and desist order for DMing without paying them a license or giving them a cut of what it is that I'm charging the customers for the pleasure of DMing through me. And
I would only change that with a written rules as intended. You have the bar/tavern/coffee house cafe named Flagons and Dragons. People are coming to drink your coffee and eat your food and drink your beer. You just happen to be DMing at the same time in the same location. They cannot really prove that you are making money off of their game.
Well, I mean, my original business model was actually quite literally to put out there like DM for hire, you know, where it was like,
right.
it was kind of like individualized dinner theater, where it was like you would pay, depending on how many people you had, it was like a sliding scale. So if there was 3 of you, it'd be like $20 a head. If there was 6 of you, it would be like 15 or $10 or something like that.
Right.
And it all worked out so that if there were more players, it was cheaper for them, but we still made more money. It was fun. I figured it out at one point.
Nice.
But going forward with the Wizards of the Coast being what they appear to be, and Hasbro being absolutely what it is, which is a company that's there to make money. Really, it's the fiduciary responsibility. They're probably going to destroy D&D in the name of trying to maximize shareholder profits in the short term. So that's fun.
How do you feel about flipping to like Pathfinder or Iron Kingdoms or what other RPGs do I have over here? Fallout.
Yeah. Sure. I'm happy with even sticking with 5e. I'm a little bummed at like how much money I've spent at D&D Beyond at this point for the convenience of doing everything that way. But and the thought that I might kind of lose access to the stuff that I had been utilizing. I don't know. It just feels like...
Are they going to put everything behind a paywall? Because you have the DM subscription, right? So you have access to all the books.
Yeah, I have access to all the books that I purchased.
Oh, okay.
Which arguably is a fair amount of them. Although I haven't been, like in the last 2 years or so, I haven't been spending as much. Not at all. Yeah, it is what it is. But it's all one of those things where if to bring it back around, if I had a consistent, good-paying job that I could bank on, and in terms of income, then I probably wouldn't care as much, because then I can just afford to pay for whatever it is that's out there, right? So, and again, it just... The long-term goal, of course, would be nice if we could get something like VAWMA to the point where we could potentially buy them out, and say, hey, we want to, here's $1 billion, give us D&D, and you guys can go do something else, and then we can make D&D truly like community, open source, democratic, and all that other fun stuff. I don't know. It's a big thought, but if we had like hundreds of VAWMA chapters across North America or even across the world, each contributing like 2% of their gross or their net to a central thing there, and if we had a network across all that, I mean, the likelihood that we'd have enough geeks to make critical mass that we would want to purchase that IP specifically is probably not very great, but you never know. We'll see. Yeah. Sorry, just No.
It's I'm just thinking that the logistics of if we could actually make it happen, as a parent company, Hasbro seems to be paywalling a lot of things.
Yeah. And if not them, like all the other game industry stuff, like Squeenix is putting everything behind paywalls, and EA, Blizzard, all of them. They're all like microtransactions are the future of the gaming industry.
Yeah, you don't have $70 now to buy whatever said video game is, but you have $5 every day to buy microtransactions for whatever Fortnite chest that you need. Suddenly, your $79 for the game has turned into $400, but nickel and dime, you don't notice it as big as $80.
Yeah. So true.
That's how they catch a lot of people, unfortunately.
I would love to be able to, like, long-term goal, get VAWMA to the point where it can create like its own in-house gaming publishing
That would be cool.
thing there, where we can like bring in programmers who are burnt out from working for EA and Blizzard and all those other places, and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we create a worker-directed game company? We'll front you the cash. We'll hire you. We'll keep you employed for however many months it takes you guys to create your game. And, just on the promise that when the game is published, we get the lion's share of the royalties or whatever that game makes. And we'll just create our own little in-house gaming publisher.
Yeah. I like that idea. Sorry, I'm distracted by my cat, who has decided that this piece of paper on the bed is what she wants to lay on.
Yeah.
And so all I hear is crunch, 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 crunch.
That's what you get with cats, eh? Gotta love them.
Captain Kirk says, hello, BTW.
Captain!
Captain! Yes.
It's looking for a we can always go back to second edition.
Well, apparently it's the open source gaming license itself is being taken away.
It's not.
They're threatening to take it away.
Yeah.
There's hints that there's going to be some changes in the future.
Yes, which it is what it is, I guess.
And that's just it. Like, there's some really interesting things on the internet that I've been reading about how, even though they can trademark the title Dungeons and Dragons, and they can copyright their books and stuff, they can't actually copyright the gaming system itself.
No, because they've already had it open source for so long that they can stop adding to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they can remove it entirely.
And they can't stop people from adding to what they've put out there. Yeah. All they can do is they can stop people from recreating their published material verbatim.
Exactly. Because then you would run into lawsuits with Iron Kingdoms and with Pathfinder and with. I think, but that's a rant for another day. To circle things back, how does that, I don't want to say how does that factor in, but where do we go from here? So we talked about streaming last time and possibly doing a YouTube stream, possibly doing a Twitch stream. I have successfully been streaming on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously for 5 days. It took me 5 days to figure out how to get rid of my audio troubles, but I think I finally figured out how to stream it clean without any echoes.
Okay.
So that's the thing. That being said, we wanted to launch in the new year, correct?
Yes, I think that would be a good move. It's a month away. It's not a month away. It's 2 weeks away.
That's okay.
But it's a couple of weeks away, and if we get started on time, we do great. If not, no one's going to notice. I'm sure we're going to be one of like a million different podcasts that all get started in January.
Yeah.
Which is fine. The big thing that I think will set us apart will be just a commitment to creating weekly content. And what the content it is that we're creating, because I don't know of anybody else out there who's making we're starting from scratch and we're just trying to figure this out and come along for the journey with us type thing. So which is kind of how I want this to go. I'd asked Rebecca if she would be interested in joining us on our podcast, and she's like, I'm not an expert. And I'm like, and I thought, well, yeah, none of us are, and that's kind of
exactly.
Because our point will be to bring on experts as we can get them, and to do research and then share the research that we find during the week to present to I guess, each other, but also to the world. So I'm kind of using this as my accountability thing there to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And so I can share stuff that I'm learning through the course that I'm taking, for example.
Yes.
I can share stuff that I'm learning through digging up new bylaws or other people's bylaws, or exploring like the outside of the box concepts that I have versus the tried and true methods that are out there that have been done and that have been proven to either work or not work.
Yeah.
And see if we can find a synthesis of what works and what doesn't, between what has been tried and what's sort of like starting from scratch, asking the question, well, if we want to take our living labor, combine it with our embodied labor in order to control our total labor, how do we do that? And yeah, I think there's things that we need to like check boxes we need to mark off as we go through the list of things, moving towards incorporating around a business, around something that we're going to do. And I'm excited to just use this podcast streaming idea as a vehicle for keeping us on track to going forward, and hopefully creating a record of something that, even if we ultimately end up not succeeding in starting VAWMA in rural Grey Bruce, Owen Sound, Canada, other people out there can at least see what it is that we've done, and maybe take lessons from that, and try something that may be similar but actually works.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that keeps in with the cooperative principles of helping each other out, and to a lesser degree giving back to the global community rather than the local community.
So the one thing that just popped in my head while we were talking about this was the first two episodes that I kind of envisioned in my head. Was episode 1 is who are we? What is VAWMA? What have we done and where we're going? It's kind of like an introduction to this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and the whole point of the podcast is to have you come along on the journey with us. Awesome.
Yeah,
see you next time.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is a recap of the live events. How did we come up with the idea of the live events? How did we do the live events? What worked with the live events and then what didn't?
Yeah.
Episode 3 might be what, we're now doing a podcast. Why are we doing a podcast? Why are we live streaming? Why, who, what, why? Kind of a catch up of what we did over the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the weeklies can just be like, as you said previously, based on whatever SMART goals or whatever transitions we set that week. Then each week is almost like a live stream coaching session. What have we done? Where do we need to go? How do we need to get there?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And we add to that the idea. Shoot, what was I thinking?
You should just start interrupting me whenever you have an idea.
Oh, yeah. No,
legit, just interrupt me.
No, it's gone.
Okay.
Such is life.
Well, when it comes back, when you stop thinking about it, it'll come back, and that's when you can be.
I remember now. It was the idea that we can do rehash of the 4 different aspects of the presentations that I gave for the events.
Yes.
This time, hopefully, with less audio issues. And a little bit more refinement with the VAWMA 3.0 idea, where we don't have the PIP system, but we do use patronage, and where we are very clearly a multi-stakeholder cooperative right from the beginning. Yeah, I think that should be fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
And guest speakers, we can probably just reach out to this. I don't want to say maybe the same guest speakers, but maybe we can reach out to the same guest speakers and say, hey, we are, revisiting this whole thing from a new avenue, and we're wondering if you'd be willing to pop in and maybe do a virtual Q&A that is a little more streamlined, a little more organized, maybe a little more
conversational.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can imagine, I would love to have John McNamara back on to talk about sociocracy in a little bit more in depth with regards to what it is that we're thinking to how we structure our overall organization.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's how do we run our board of directors? Do we do we should probably use sociocracy for that, how do we run our general meetings? Is it possible to use sociocracy for that if we have a couple hundred people? And if so, how do we accomplish that? And can we do it in a timely manner? These are all questions that I'm curious to know. I know that the sociocracy people say that they have solutions to these problems, so that's good.
Yeah.
We just need to learn what they are
now. Yeah. So I'm just doing some napkin math.
Oh, good.
Who doesn't like napkin math?
I love napkin math.
Right?
I've got a book full of
it. Sorry. So, January 2nd. Nope. January 2nd is the first Monday of the new year. I don't know if that's also a Monday. My Mondays are kind of pooched. That seems to be my really busy day. January 3rd is my birthday, so I don't plan on working on my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So how do you feel about maybe the 10th? That's a Tuesday.
As a launch day? Yeah, let's aim for the 10th.
Okay.
That sounds good. Yeah, because Mondays are always the day when I don't have my kids. Mondays and Tuesdays. So but those are always good days.
I want to give you a day to yourself. You deserve self-care as well.
Well, that's typically my Monday or Tuesday evenings and stuff there. Yeah.
Right. So even if we do a January 10, that's Tuesday. What time?
I say we do it in the morning. Okay. Because I typically will have course material in the afternoon.
Okay.
So if we wanted to say aim to do, I'm guessing somewhere between 9:30 and 10 to start, and be done by 11:30 sort of thing.
Okay.
That would give me enough time to get ready for the stuff for my course at 12 or 1 o'clock, depending on what's going on there.
So let's do a 9:30 start. Okay. Because even if parents want to get in on this and they want to see what's happening, 9:30 I think is a good time because they would have dropped the kids off at school by then. They would have got their morning routine done by then. If people are on a break, if they started at 7, 9:30 is usually about roughly first break, that type stuff. That could be a good time, and we can always change it. We can always, put the feelers out there. Hey guys, if you want to keep watching this, but you want to watch it live and you just don't have the time, what time works for you? Maybe it turns into an afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe it turns into an evening.
Yep. All possibilities. So, we'll start with the morning, see how that goes. See if 9:30 is too early for us.
Sure.
Shouldn't be, but you never know. You never
I
know.
mean, I'm already streaming at 7 o'clock that morning, so it'll just be me flipping from one stream to the next. So I'll
Yeah.
already be ready. I'll just got to remember what hat I'm wearing.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it'll be like, yeah, because you're up at 5:30 in the morning or whenever, anyways.
Stupid o'clock.
There you go. And that'll be one of my days where I'll be sleeping in my own bed, so that'll be good.
Yay!
Okay, so January 10th, put it in the calendar. So now we have a goal.
Yay!
Right.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
And we're going to stream on Twitch or YouTube.
I think YouTube for sure.
Okay.
I think Twitch might be nice just in terms of bringing in randos.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If we're going to be streaming live and streaming to randos, I'm wondering if we're going to want to have like a moderator, like a third person, just kind of keeping an eye on the chats in both, just to make sure we don't have any spam for adult websites or hate trolls or anything like that. So
legit.
Yeah.
And that will also give a third person to either produce, like they can take the feed, they can control the broadcasting, they can control the streaming and all that kind of fun stuff. And that leaves you and I to just have conversation. I can moderate chat if we're just having conversation. I can kind of do that at the same time, but I won't be able to do all three.
Well, yeah. If we're one of us will be streaming. Probably you, because you have the rig set up at this point, and arguably probably better, more reliable internet. And
except for that one day.
Except for that one day, which Ice Storm, it makes sense,
right.
So then, at that point, I could have the chat window loaded up on a separate window, especially if I'm at home here. I could possibly do that. Okay. So then, and if we did end up getting a third person, and I can put out to the VAWMA Discord and see if anybody's interested in being the moderator, being a part of the podcast for that. And if we get a volunteer, we get a volunteer. And if not, then we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. And marketing. When are we going to start advertising, and where are we going to advertise?
I had thought about doing Facebook ads at one point, but having talked with people who do Facebook ads, they do not report a whole lot of success. So the better way seems to be word of mouth, individuals kind of putting up Facebook events to their Facebook page and getting interest that way. For people who use Facebook, it's useless for people who don't. Because one of the peoples that we had coming out to the events in November was is a farmer that I was connected to via phone numbers being traded by between people, and emails as well, I should say.
Sure.
So they do have at least access to email, but they don't use Facebook.
Absolutely.
And given the state of social media in the world, I don't blame them.
Right.
Like, I use it because it's better than being alone. And without it, I don't have access to the community network that I would have, that I have with it, sort of thing there. So I'm grateful for Facebook, even if they are collecting my data. Anyway.
So what about if you have said person's email, what about an email campaign?
Yep. Well, just sending stuff out and just it's that person to person not marketing, but spreading the word.
Yes.
That's probably how we're going to get our best quality people coming out to begin. I had thought once I had something like, for lack of a better term, physical to point people to,
Mhm.
I would go on a spree of picking up jobs at retail vendors all over Owen Sound, and just getting to know the different people working in those dead end retail jobs, and saying, hey, how would you like to be doing more or less what you're doing now, but get paid a living wage? And
Right.
And finding out the people who are good to work with that way.
Yeah.
Because yeah, and then we just sidestep the capitalists and create our own deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I definitely know that the events page, creating events on Facebook, everybody sharing the snot out of them on Facebook, maybe even, I don't know how socials heavy you are, but maybe even doing like little spits on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, I'm afraid of TikTok, but
Yep, that's cool.
just because of its data harvesting.
100%.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. If we could turn
Do we
VAWMA
have
ideas into 30-second sound bites, we can put them up on the TikTok and get
Right.
1 million views.
Do we have anybody in the VAWMA chat that is social savvy?
I mean, Dan does his own little YouTube channel, and he's trying to grow it.
Maybe that's a good resource to tap.
Maybe. I don't know how big his audience is yet.
No, but I mean, he might still be able to, if we say, hey, sponsor, maybe not sponsor, but you can give your own self a pitch,
we can cross-pollinate.
Correct.
We can promote each other's channels, and
that's it.
Yeah, no, we can do that. And I think he might be open to that. And my brother, of all people, he's on the thing there. He streams. He does. He's Southpaw Virtual on Twitch.
Indeed.
I think I may have mentioned it before. He's got the market cornered for
the left-hand VR.
That you got it. Southpaw Virtual, you gotta love it.
That's it.
And he gets like 6 viewers at a time. So
hey man, you know what? The way that I like to compare it is if you put 6 people in the same room looking over your shoulder trying to see what you're doing, that's a lot of people.
In a small room, absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, when people are like, oh, I only have 25 viewers, put 25 people in your living room watching you play video games.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people.
And then trying to maintain all their attention. Ooh,
right?
Full-time job.
And trying to figure out what everyone is saying, why they're saying it, who they're saying it to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like 3 viewers. My streams last week, I think I tapped out at like on average 4 people.
Nice.
You know what? I'm okay with that because 4 people giving a shit about what I have to talk about in the morning, 4 people choosing to spend 7 to 8 o'clock with me in the morning, amazing. Mm-hmm. And if I put 4 people in this room right now looking over my shoulder to see what I was doing, that's a lot of people.
Yep.
I take that as a win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you have 6 people, that's still 6 people that you might not have reached previously. That's still 6 people that give a shit about what you have to say.
Yep. And at the end of the day, my goal, as much as it is to kind of create something that's for posterity for other people out there, my immediate goal is to try and be relevant to the people in my hometown here, so that we can actually, because like I maybe it's possible for us to create an online business that VAWMA can operate as a cooperative that's like like a truly international cooperative right off the bat, that would be very interesting. I haven't
Amazing.
considered how that would work yet. I don't know if it would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Be very interesting because it would have to be everything would have to be online at that point.
Yes.
And
time zones.
Yeah, like, and what would our product be that we could do it entirely online? Would it be like people working on their own little bits here and there and then shipping it, when they're done doing their little bit? Do they send it digitally for working on a digital format, or if we're doing something physical? How do we take care of that? Because like that's why I want to start with it local. Is that, like, at the end of the day, the best way to make money is to take something physical that you can get for cheap and sell it to somebody else for more than what you paid for it. You know, basic supply and demand sort of ideology.
Exactly. I almost wonder if there is a way to create a co-op Etsy.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Like, is there a way to take like Shopify and Etsy and Pinterest and all those like rando crafty kind of websites that still allow you to sell your shit? But is there a way to like cooperatize? Whatever word, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but is there a way to make it what we want it to be? Is there a way to make like VAWMA Etsy?
So then at that point, you would make Etsy co-op. I would say probably a producer cooperative, where the producers are going to be the people submitting what they're making to the Etsy co-op portal at that point. And all the people that produce would collectively then own that portal, that website, etsy.coop, for we'll call it Kepsi. And there would be I would assume there would be like a buy-in. So depending on what it would be, it could be anywhere from like $25 to more buy-ins, like run the range from $25 to $5,000 sort of thing there. So we would probably be on the lower end, and it would be like, join Kepsi for this low price, and we will guarantee to need a certain price or a certain threshold, or we will instead of taking 50% of what it is that you make out of your Etsy profile, we'll take 15% or 20% or whatever it is, and then we can add in a patronage system there. So like the more you contribute, the more you get to participate in the slice of any surplus that's made. So we make enough money to cover our operating expenditures, the cost of keeping the website up and running, the cost of keeping those developers going, the cost of maintaining the relationship between our content creators and our preferred delivery thing. So we work out a deal with like Purelator or something like that, so that we can get preferred shipping deals for our customers and stuff there. So instead of having to pay like what you would have to pay if you were to walk down to the post office and pay for it out of pocket to ship whatever it is you're creating to somebody, you would go down to the post office, give our business number, and you would get our business rate for your shipping costs, that sort of thing, right?
That's awesome.
Though that's what I would.
Yeah.
That's how I would structure it, in thinking just in terms of like what we would entice our creators to be a part of, and then that's just thinking off the top of my head. And I'm sure there probably already like cooperative Etsy like projects out there that we could just like join or collaborate with, or what have you. Figure out what it is that they're doing, see if we can do it better. Yeah. Because that's or see if we can join in. You know, is there overlap? Is there? Yeah.
That's an interesting concept that I wonder if it would be. I mean, it's another avenue that we can look at, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, depending on, depending on our skill set, so depending on who we attract to VAWMA, is by and large going to determine what VAWMA ends up evolving and looking like. You know, so and for my money, the more diverse VAWMA is, like the more, like we have a one set of businesses that are like do trades type work, you know, that would be cool. If you had another set of businesses that did retail, that'd be cool. If you had another set of businesses that did industrial, that'd be cool. You know, like we had another set of businesses that did like the Etsy thing. You know, at that point, we can, if we have enough money coming in from the other businesses, we can take a little bit of a longer term risk on other businesses that don't necessarily have an immediate return on investment. But we can make it float until we can become established. You know, because that's, I remember hearing like the way Pinterest got off the ground is the person who created it just went down to their local coffee shops and put a million different business cards everywhere, so that everybody found the business cards, went to that site, and bought in, signed up, and eventually it became Pinterest. You know, well, we could do something similar. You know, if you can do something like that in a bunch of small towns around Ontario, or you get a couple dozen people to like spam like places all around Toronto, get mom and pop, you know, bars and cafe shops to buy into what it is that we're doing. You know, make a way somehow to get an advertising campaign that we can help, like give them swag or incentivize them to not take our stuff down, so that we can become truly the alternative to the producer, like producer owned thing that we would be doing. And then the lion's share of what it'd be really interesting if we could somehow make it so that it is actually a part of VAWMA, so that those producer members could actually be a part of the democratic process of the entire business as well. So that a reason of becoming a member of the Etsy cooperative thing there is that you also get to access our union. So if you ever wanted work, you can just like say, hey, union, is there any work? You know, and if any of our co-ops need extra workers, we'll get you connected to people, you know. And if and when our businesses make a profit, you get a share of that surplus based on, you know, what you've done to contribute to it. If you're just a producer using our Etsy thing, you know, well, depending on how much you've produced that has gone through our network, you will get a larger amount of the patronage, yeah, I still have yet to figure out exactly how producer cooperatives function in that, because I haven't, like, that's the newest one to me. Consumer, I've got figured out. Consumer, it's like, you know, you spend more money with us, you get more money back. It's really that simple. Workers, really easy. You know, it's the amount of hours you work. You know, producers, okay, it's the amount that you produce for us. What does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? So, you know, still wrapping my brain around that one a little bit.
Would that be again, bakery? Oh my goodness, I think I need some food. Would that be like, okay, so we have my bakery, I am a producer level of VAWMA. I am going to give you 3 dozen cupcakes, 2 dozen cookies, and 3 cheesecakes. That if you sell all of those things, then you have bought them off of me for X number of dollars. You have sold all of those things for Y number of dollars.
Yeah.
I then, in turn, have provided you with said product, so then I get said chunk back of whatever the dividend or whatever the profit or the shares at the end of the year, that type stuff. Is that how it would roughly work?
So the producer is more traditionally not like what you're describing. I think would technically be a producer if in that setup, but more typically you find producers are like farmers in that scenario. So if the producer in that co-op scenario would be the person providing the flour and the eggs and the base ingredients that you need in order for the worker, you, to then turn those base ingredients into the cakes and the pastries and the things. And then so the producer would get out of the surplus that everybody works together to create. You take the raw ingredients that the farmer produced and you turn it into the cakes, and then somebody else, maybe me, comes along and sells that cake to somebody in the while you're in the back baking. So all of us work together to create a surplus. The surplus would then be split 3 ways between the two of us who are working. It would be based on the amount of hours that we worked, that we would get based on the surplus. Like everybody would get a wage first and foremost, and then any surplus that's made would be split between us based on the hours that we did. If I spent more hours of the cash selling the cakes than you did baking the cakes in the back, if I spent 8 hours of the cash, you spent 4 hours in the kitchen, then I would end up getting more of the surplus based on the more hours that I worked. The producer would get a cut of the surplus based on the volume that they contributed to the recipes, the supplies. So I think, how does that work?
I feel like that would be very hard to control, because if you're, unless you just had a flat rate of 50 pounds of flour equals $50.
Well, and part of it is that
if we use 10 pounds of flour, you get $10.
Right. Okay. I think I'm getting that.
Right. Because if you go by volume of product, by whether it be flour, sugar, corn, eggs, whatever, if you go by amount used, that I feel like that would be hard to control, strictly because some things require more something than something else. Whereas in general, if 1 week we sold 50 cheesecakes, well, yeah, your eggs and your sugar are going to be through the roof. Your flour, not so much. But then the following week, your flour went through the roof because it was baking season, or birthdays galore. And so you sold 50 birthday cakes, whereas flour now suddenly skyrocketed, but you didn't use as many eggs as previous. So now it's almost based on the volume used. If we used 50 pounds of flour 1 week, you got $50. If we used 30 pounds of flour the following week, you only got $30.
I'm going to have to look into this. And I'm also looking at the time. We're about to lose our stream here in about 5 seconds. But actually, let me just...
reset.
Yeah, right? Where is it? Stream settings. I've got it ready to go for when it stops streaming. It's not giving me the option. It's not even giving me the option to do the streaming thing now. How do you like that? Oh well,
What?
is what it is.
I thought.
You know what it is? It's probably because I had to quit and rejoin.
You know what? I also don't have streaming options.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
fine.
you know what? Maybe it's because you're currently streaming.
That might be. Either way, I'm taking a course on cooperatives, and it's a large part of it is focused on the producer aspect of it. So at some point, I'm going to figure this stuff out, and all the guesswork will be done, which would be nice. Yeah. And when that happens, that'll be good. I think one of the thoughts that occurred to me is that one of the benefits of being a member of our producer or being a producer member of our cooperative is that we would guarantee them a minimum price for the goods that they're selling.
Okay.
So we would be their like sole customer, and we would negotiate with them like ahead of time. We guarantee you we will pay you X amount of money. In fact, here's X amount of money down, so that you can